Most people think money is permanent. It's not. They think a dollar is a fact of nature, like gravity. Something solid. Something backed by something real. But money isn't physics. It's a human agreement. And in 1971, that agreement quietly broke. In that year, without a public vote, without a national debate, the United States ended its promise to back the dollar with gold. From that moment on, money became software, not physics. And when money is just code, it can be rewritten. That single decision still controls your salary, your inflation, and your future. For most of modern history, money had real limits. Paper currency wasn't valuable just because governments said so. It was valuable because you could exchange it for a specific amount of gold. Gold was scarce. Gold was hard to dig out of the ground. Gold didn't multiply just because a politician wanted more of it. This physical connection created friction. Governments couldn't just print money endlessly to fund whatever they wanted. Wars had real, immediate costs. Bad economic decisions showed up on the balance sheet very quickly. After World War II, under a system called Bretton Woods, the US dollar became the world's reserve currency. The whole global economy was built on it. But this came with one huge condition. Every single dollar printed could be exchanged for gold at a fixed rate of $35 per ounce. That promise created trust, and that trust created dominance. The US didn't just rule the world because of its armies. It ruled because its currency was seen as stable and reliable. But stability has a problem. By the 1960s, the system was starting to crack. The United States was funding the incredibly expensive Vietnam War. It was also massively expanding social programs at home with its Great Society initiatives. The country was spending far more than it was earning, and the rest of the world was watching. Foreign governments started noticing something very dangerous. There were way more dollars floating around the world than there was gold in US vaults to back them up. France, led by its skeptical president Charles de Gaulle, was the first to act. He began demanding that France's dollar reserves be converted into physical gold, as was their right under the Bretton Woods Agreement. Other countries saw what was happening and started to follow. The trust was eroding. At that moment, the United States faced a choice. Option 1: cut spending drastically, end the wars, scale back programs, and accept the economic pain that would follow. Or Option 2: change the rules of the game entirely. They chose Option 2. On a quiet Sunday night, August 15th, 1971, President Richard Nixon went on national television. There was no emergency session of Congress, no public referendum, no global conference. He simply announced that the US would temporarily suspend the convertibility of the dollar into gold. He used the word temporary, but it was permanent. The gold window never opened again. In a single speech, money was completely disconnected from physical reality. The dollar started to float, its value determined not by gold, but by global markets and government policy. And because the dollar was the world's reserve currency, every other major currency in the world had to follow. That was the exact moment money stopped being constrained by nature and became constrained only by human decisions. That was the moment money became software, not physics. Once money is just software, it can be updated anytime. If there's a recession, you can print more money. If the stock markets fall, you can inject liquidity to prop them up. If national debt gets too big, you just roll it over and create more debt. This change unlocked something unprecedented in human history: infinite financial leverage. Governments could now spend future productivity before it even existed. Central banks gained the power to smooth over economic crashes, but this power also meant they could inflate enormous bubbles. Debt stopped being treated as an emergency to be paid back. It became a permanent strategy for growth. The system didn't collapse, it scaled. After 1971, the numbers went wild. National debt, which had been relatively stable, began to skyrocket into the trillions. Asset prices, like stocks and real estate, started to rise much faster than people's wages. Productivity continued to increase, but the purchasing power of the average worker's paycheck didn't keep up. This wasn't an accident. When the money supply expands faster than the real output of goods and services, wealth doesn't just disappear, moves. It flows away from cash and savings and towards things like assets and financial instruments. More importantly, it flows towards those who are closest to the money creation itself: banks, large corporations, and the government. This is the hidden reason why housing prices have outpaced incomes for decades. It's why the stock market often feels disconnected from the real economy. It's why inflation feels so personal, yet so invisible in the official numbers. The system rewards those who understand how it works early, and it quietly taxes those who don't. Most people think of inflation as a failure of the system, a bug. It isn't. Inflation is a core feature of how a modern fiat system stays liquid. It's how massive government debt becomes more manageable over time. It's how long-term obligations can shrink in real value without ever officially defaulting. But inflation always has a cost. It quietly transfers value from savers to borrowers. It moves wealth from workers earning a salary to asset holders who own stocks and property. It essentially pulls value from the future into the present. That's why it feels like your paycheck grows slowly. But the cost of everything else, from groceries to education to housing, feels like it as getting more expensive every year. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was designed to after 1971. You didn't vote for this system. Most of us weren't even alive when that switch was flipped. But our entire lives run on its consequences. Your retirement plan likely depends on asset prices continuing to inflate. Your job now competes not just with local workers, but with global liquidity flows that can shift industries overnight. And your savings lose a little bit of their value every single day if they just stand still in a bank account. That single decision in 1971 shaped everything: how governments handled crises, why financial markets always seem to expect bailouts, and why money feels so abstract, yet so incredibly stressful at the same time. It redefined power not through military force, but through financial architecture. Most people react emotionally to money. They argue about politics. They blame individual leaders. They chase the symptoms of the problem, like rising prices or market volatility. But the real leverage is in understanding the structure. Those who understand the system don't panic, they position themselves. They look for the incentives driving the headlines. They adapt to the rules of the game instead of resisting them. This is why some people seem to thrive in economic chaos, while others get left behind. It's not always because they're smarter or harder working. It's often because they understand how the game is coded. The final truth is this: money is not permanent. It never was. It's a technology. It's a protocol. It's a collective belief system that we all participate in. And like all systems, it evolves. The future doesn't belong to those who ignore history. It belongs to those who understand the systems that shape our world. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, make sure to like and subscribe for more.